Hi guys, I made 2 videos earlier this year. One was talking about the growing noise problems in Kigali, and the other one was talking about being hospitalised for health issues relating to sleep deprivation. You might want to watch these as they provide a bit of context to what you're about to see now. I'll leave the links below.
Hi guys, I'm really struggling. I think I've had about maybe 3 hours of sleep again. All night, every night, we've got this loud banging. Hi guys, just giving you a quick update on the noise because I am brain damaged right now. I think I got 3 hours sleep last night. 2 o'clock in the morning, the building began. Tonight, it was so quiet, and it's a Sunday, so I thought, oh, maybe they're gonna be quiet tonight because it's a Sunday and people gotta get up tomorrow. Sorry, I'm really struggling. 9:30 at night, absolute silence up to that point, and then chung chung chung, off they go again. Because at the moment, if a police officer turned up, like, he'd stand there and go, but it's really quiet, what are you complaining about? And it's quiet when they're not building, it's quiet, but the second you close your eyes, chunk chunk chunk. The fact that it's quiet in between that doesn't make up for the fact that you're going to get pulled out of your sleep at least once every hour throughout the night. I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't. And my brain is shutting down. Whew. I feel like I've aged 20 years in the past, what is it, a month, 2 months. They started in December the 2nd it began. It's now the end of January. I feel like I've aged more in those 2 months than I've ever aged. You know what I'm saying? I feel my age at the moment because I ain't sleeping. This is Kigali. This is what Kigali is now. There's no regulation over the sound of the building. I'm so tired, I can hardly stand up anymore. I need to go to bed. And, well, no, you know what? I don't need to go to bed. I need to sleep. And those are not the same things anymore. Lying down in bed is not the same as actually sleeping anymore. It's doing my health absolutely no good. And I don't understand what kind of city council would sanction all-night building work to do this to so many people. I mean, I can't be the only one complaining about it. I can't be. And if I am, then that raises a very big question of why? Like, why is nobody else mentioning this? Because it can't be because they don't hear it. So, God, this noise, man. I'm too tired to move house. I'm too tired to work. Like, people offer me jobs occasionally, contracts occasionally. I'm like, I can't function. I cannot function with no sleep. And it's getting louder. Even now when I wear my noise cancelling headphones, it's not enough. Like, you can still hear it even with noise cancellation on. It's that loud, and it is just so loud. I woke up this morning, my cat's joining in, but I woke up this morning and I was crying. I was crying because I just haven't slept. It's been almost 3 months, well, it's just over 2.5 months now of this every single night. There's been maybe 4 nights when it hasn't happened. Sorry, like I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Like I said before, I can't even remember what I said before. I'm so tired. Yeah, my brain is shutting down, you know. I can't focus on anything. There are days I want to go out and do things and I can't. I'm so tired. I can't remember what I was just talking about. I just feel so trapped by it, and I used to feel really angry about it, really angry that Kigali City does this to people, that, you know, I don't know if we've got any building noise regulations on paper, but we sure as hell don't enforce it in reality, and I'm angry about that. But now I'm just too tired even to be angry. I am absolutely drained, like mentally and physically drained. I've been posting quite a lot of upbeat stuff. Every now and again I have a day when I feel up for it, but most of the videos that I've posted over the past couple of months, well, the past month, have been compilations of stuff that I've done at other times, like before the noise started even. Yeah, I don't know, I can't speak anymore. I'm so damn tired. It's criminal. It's gotta be criminal, because you cannot have a city with so many people in it and do this to them and expect people to still be productive, expect people to work, expect people to be, you know, happy and saying, hey, Kigali's a great place to live, when it's been almost 3 months and I haven't slept. I haven't slept since the 2nd of December. I remember the exact night that it started. Morning, guys. I am editing at 5:40 in the morning because I've been awake since 4:30 in the morning, which is the time that somebody decided it was a perfect opportunity to get some hammering in. There was just constant hammering throughout Kigali. So I was pulled from a wonderful sleep by really loud, I think it's some kind of industrial equipment or machinery, or just somebody with a lot of aggression, you know, just been hammering away since, I can't even speak anymore, I'm too tired, been hammering away since 4:30 in the morning. So it's 2nd of January. It's about 10 past midnight. Why can't they just build during the day, or, you know, stop, even if they stop at 10 o'clock and you know that you're gonna get 8 hours sleep, you know that it's gonna stop and you're gonna be able to sleep, but it doesn't. It stop start, like all through the night, and just like my health, I'm not coping at all. I'm just exhausted. Hi guys, so it's been 2 days since I filmed that, and I sit before you compos mentis and capable of stringing a sentence together thanks to my wonderful friends Harris and Rob, who staged an intervention and they sent me these, and I'm not going to go into it here, but these have saved my life. I used them last night and I got close to 6 hours of sleep, which I haven't had in a really long time. So a few more nights of this and I might be okay. I'm not going to go into it now. I will tell you all about these and exactly what they are in the next video. But today I have got my new favourite coffee mug, and I have got some information to impart to you. So the first bit of information is that I now know for certain what that building project is. So it's called the Ramba Hills and Royal Golf View Apartments Hotel. So essentially it is a luxury hotel complex attached to the golf course. And I think this is one of the most interesting photographs here, because you can see all of the building inspectors walking around with these great big smiles, really big smiles, looking very happy, very proud of themselves. I can tell you that is a smile that is only achievable
if you have had a night's sleep. If you are getting a night's sleep, they clearly, they're turning up to work, they're inspecting what's going on, and then they are heading off to the other side of town where they've probably got their houses in a nice quiet neighbourhood, and they're getting a bit of rest, they're getting a bit of sleep, because I promise you, you cannot muster a smile like that if you haven't slept in 3 months. So we know what it is. Now, my big question earlier in this video was, why isn't anybody complaining? Like, why hasn't the city of Kigali stepped in? Now, it's the city of Kigali that's posting about this building work. And they must have sanctioned all-night building because, you know, there must have been building permits crossing desks, and they must have been like ticking that off going, yeah, sure, all night, go for it. And I bring this up because yesterday I bumped into a neighbour and we were having a bit of a chat. And I said to him, I said, like, are you hearing this? Like, does this disturb you? I was starting to think, you know, is it in my head? Am I having problems? And, you know, is it a Mzungu issue? Can I just not deal with the real world? And no, my neighbour looked at me, and in that split second, I saw in his expression the exact same expression that I had, was just like this absolute dog-tired kind of, you know, he was not capable of going, yes, isn't it fantastic? What a wonderful building project. Look at how the city is developing. His look was my look. It was, yeah. You know, he looked like he wanted to lie down and sleep for a week. And I said to him, like, you know, well, how is this happening? And he said, well, you know, they've clearly got special permission to do this, because he said, you know, generally speaking, you're not allowed to build through the entire night. So he said, yeah, they must have been given permission. Now, my neighbour is quite well connected, and, you know, knows a lot of the people around this area. And, you know, there are a lot of ambassadors in this area, because Embassy Row is just up the top there with most of the international, like the Chinese embassy, the Egyptian embassy, I think the Libyan embassy, the British embassy, the American embassy, they're all up that road. And quite a few of the ambassadors have residence quite close to here, so it's really easy for them to get between the embassy and their home. And I remember a few years ago, there was a bar that just would not stop making noise. And, you know, we were all complaining about it. We're like going, you know, we're phoning the police going, look, this is too much. We need help. This is too much. And mostly just kind of being ignored. And then apparently, I won't say which one, but the rumour was that a particular ambassador had their residence quite close to this particular bar, and they made a phone call and it went very quiet very quickly. Yeah, so it's kind of telling, because, you know, my neighbour was saying, well, yeah, all of the ambassadors around here have been complaining, like all of the politicians and, you know, the big important people around here have been complaining about it, and absolutely nothing has been done. There has been no change at all, which kind of is weird. You know, I mean, mostly ordinary people like myself who don't like walk down the street with dollars like wafting out of our pockets. Mostly, you know, our quality of life is not as important. But when you get to the upper echelons of society and the really important people are complaining about it and nothing is being done, then, you know, that's weird. So yeah, but I mean, I haven't made a formal complaint about this particular issue, because I've made formal complaints in the past about all-night road building, about nightclubs opening on a residential street, about my neighbours who were spraying chemicals and that was wafting over into the garden. And I just feel like you don't get anywhere, you know. What's the point in complaining? I think that is kind of the point, is, you know, you get so worn down and so tired that you just can't open your mouth anymore. And I think, you know, that's the idea. So when it came to this, I just haven't made a complaint, because I look across the valley and I see 4 cranes parked over there. And I just assume that whoever is building that building has got a lot more money than I have and a lot more influence than I have. And therefore anything I say is not important at that point, is not going to be taken into consideration. Kigali is a city now that is built for buildings. Concrete, cement, that is to be worshipped. Flesh and blood, not so much. Human beings, secondary to high rises right now. So I didn't bother saying anything, but it really I took a breath of relief, not just to hear that it is disturbing other people and that other people have been complaining, but the people quite high up have been complaining, and they're also not getting anywhere with it. So, at least I don't feel it's all on my shoulders to say anything and to try and stick up for myself, because there are other people who are saying things and trying to stick up for themselves. I'm just too tired. I'm too tired at the moment. I have no fight in me anymore. So yeah, we know what the building project is, and we know that it is disturbing a lot of people. And then my neighbour then pointed something else out that I guess I knew at the back of my mind but didn't fully realise, is that the building work is right next to King Faisal Hospital. And King Faisal Hospital is the biggest hospital in the country. It's like the capital city major hospital. And all through the night, not a single patient in that building, unless you are knocked the fuck out with morphine, there is not a single patient in that building who's having a good night's sleep either. And this is the problem. I mean, my street, there are kids on my street who go to school. I'm sure there's a woman who is pregnant, probably. There are elderly people, there are sick people. And none of their lives matter. You know what I mean? None of their quality of life matters, at least. They don't have the right to get a night's sleep. And yet at the same point, like I've mentioned before, you get the New Times, our biggest paper, churning out these articles about how important it is to get a night's sleep and how much damage it does to your health if you don't sleep properly. It's all lip service. It's lip service, as are the regulations on paper here. It's like, but we have regulations against noise issues. Yeah, but if you don't actually implement them, then what's the point? It might as well be toilet paper for the amount of worth that piece of paper is worth. And I'm sorry to get so angsty about it, but I haven't slept in 3 months. In my defence, I have not slept in 3 months. So if the council doesn't like the cut of my jib, doesn't like the tone of my voice, then do something to allow me to sleep, because I promise you I am a much nicer person and I choose my words much more carefully when I have had, not just one night's sleep, but when I am allowed to sleep, as a human being is biologically required to do, then I will say nice things about your building project. But at the moment, I'm finding it really hard to find those words. Anyway, so at the moment it is a Kacyiru-wide crisis, or a Nyarutarama-wide crisis, that is upsetting a hell of a lot of people. And I feel better, not because misery loves company, but it's just nice to know that when you're suffering, you're not in it alone. It's not you having a mental breakdown in a corner on your own. It's a lot of people recognising that there is actually a real problem and validating that problem. Now, the fact it's part of the golf course, I already have very mixed feelings about the golf course. And it's kind of like, it's Kigali's sacred cow. You're not really supposed to say anything against the golf course. But I lived here since before the golf course was built, and I've said in previous videos, it was wonderful. It used to be like completely beautiful, untouched wetland. You'd go to sleep to the sound of crickets and frogs. There were loads of little garden centres down there and a few little houses which were all cleared away to make way for the golf course. And there's been already 2 big controversies with that golf course. The first one is, I mean, when it first started, of course, you have to plant the grass, and when you do that, you then have to water the grass to make it grow. And of course, here we have about 3 months when it doesn't rain each year, so we get a dry season. And I'm no expert in this, so I did have to chat GPT it, but it reckons that a golf course in Rwanda during the dry season would need somewhere between 300,000 to 500,000 US gallons of water per day to continue to be, a lush green, golfing green. And I remember very much how angry people were when they first set up the golf course, because in order to distribute that water, you just saw these huge gushing kind of hose pipes of water just emptying out onto the golf course. And then, as is still the case now, we can't make it come out of our taps in our house some days. I mean, a few times a month I am there with my bucket bath, scrubbing myself down because there is no water coming out of the taps in the houses. And yet we're sitting here watching it just like gushing out across the golf course. Now, I don't know if those figures are correct or not, or where they source their water for the golf course. But, it just feels like it adds a little bit of insult to injury, when you're kind of like wiping yourself down with a wet wipe and watching all the water just disappear across the golf course. And the second big controversy, I think it was somewhere around 2021, I'd have to look it up. But I remember that there was this big article in the news because they'd made a mistake with the fertilizer that they use on the grass to preserve it. And somehow they'd miscalculated how much they needed to use, and it killed all of the grass on the green. It all just died. The whole thing just turned into this sort of desert landscape overnight. And mistakes happen, so it's not the mistake itself that was the problem. But they never really publicly published, I don't think, what those chemicals were, what the fertilizer or the fungicide was that they were using, or the herbicide that they were using was. And there are houses all around that golf course. I'm pretty close to it. And as I've mentioned before, breathing difficulties, asthmatic. There are houses all the way around that golf course, and we still don't know what the chemicals were, or how it was treated, or how it was managed, or whether or not it posed any public health risk. If that had happened in the UK, there would have been questions, and those questions would have been answered. But here, I just don't think anybody was asking that question about what that means for public health. But I remember at the time, a few of us were sitting there thinking, hold on a minute, we're sitting right next to this huge chemical spill kind of situation. It might not have affected anybody's health. It might not have seeped into the waterboard. It might not have, drifted in the air. It might have been contained to the topsoil, and the chemicals might not have been harmful to humans, but they could have been. And we would never know. So those are the two issues since the golf course is open that I think people have been a little bit annoyed about. And then you add on to this now 3 months of all-night building work, and all you can say is, I'm sure it looks pretty to international visitors. I'm sure tourists love it. Actually, that's not fair. I do have a couple of friends who are absolutely obsessed with golfing. They love it. They have annual membership. They go golfing quite regularly and they love it. So it does serve its purpose. But I think for people who live next to the golf course, since the day it's opened, it hasn't really been a net gain or a net benefit for the local community in that way. I think it's pretty fair to say I don't think it's really benefited our street, for instance, which is scheduled for deletion because we don't really fit the aesthetic. We don't have high-rise luxury hotels. We just have little local homes, and therefore we've been told that we are going to be removed from the area, but they haven't said when. So like I say, things are breaking down in the houses and nobody's making any upgrades. I've got a shower that doesn't work and I'm not replacing it, because why am I going to pay to do that if tomorrow we're just going to get relocated? And also it's difficult because we don't know how long this is going on for. Like, friends are saying, oh, come and stay at my house. You know, I had a wonderful friend who offered me her entire Airbnb, and partly I haven't taken it up because, as I mentioned, you know, I've still got to come back to feed the cats, and I just think I'm going to be even more exhausted going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I have such limited battery left at the moment. My battery is drained. I think that would be quite exhausting, but also, for how long? For how long do I leave the house that I'm paying rent in to go and sleep somewhere else just so that I can close my eyes and feel like a functioning human being the next morning? How long am I expected to do that? And it's very difficult as well because my landlord also lives nearby. And, you know, I've talked about why I haven't moved in the past. There's a whole video about why I haven't moved. And one of those is that I don't want to just ditch my landlord and leave him without my income, without my rent each month, with a house that I can't see anybody else renting with the current conditions, and he can't sell it because it's scheduled for appropriation. Who's going to buy a house that is, you know, if they do appropriate it, they're going to be paying like below market value, I'm sure. Like he said that when they valued it, it was valued at 2021 prices because they haven't updated the market index since then. So, you know, you get the money that you're given. You know, nobody's going to buy a house under those terms, are they? So, unless they're planning to build a luxury sodding hotel on it, but I don't think so. So we're all in limbo. We're trapped here with no recourse. And, you know, a city council that clearly doesn't care. And just this sense that, you know, buildings are so much more important than the quality of human life at the moment. And yeah, just my health. Oh my God, the health problems I've had. So I went to hospital at the beginning of the year because it destroyed my blood pressure. I just had a full-on breakdown about 1 month into this. So the first month of having no sleep just destroyed me. Ended up at polyclinic. Whole video about that. I am losing my voice, which has destroyed my sort of income a little bit, because before this happened, I was narrating audiobooks a little bit, or at least trying to. And I was going to start narrating my own audiobooks, but my voice is fucked. I didn't know this, but lack of sleep completely destroys your ability to speak properly. Well, firstly, to focus on the words, but also I've had so many videos over the past month where I've had to apologise because my voice is so croaky. And it's just tiredness. It's absolute exhaustion. And I'm not capable of narrating audiobooks at the moment. So I can't do that. And also, I have a sound booth, which is soundproofed, and that's where I do the audio narration. It's soundproofed, but it's not a bomb shelter, so you still get a little bit of interference from the building work. So there's that. So I'm really just trying to survive this at the moment. And having seen my neighbour the other day and the look on his face, I think everybody here is just trying to survive this at the moment. But I'm really looking forward to the project being finished. I'm looking forward to them opening because I'm definitely leaving a review. Yeah, I've definitely got something to say when they finally launch their Google review site. I mean, why? Why would you make such misery for your local community when you're building something that you want people to love? You know, you want somebody to come and say, wow, this is an amazing project. This is going to really benefit the local community. It's fantastic for tourism. This is brilliant. We want to shout about it. And instead, you've got a whole load of people around here just looking at it going like, you know, no goodwill towards this project right now. And, you know, they did it to themselves. They didn't have to be this way. They could have been considerate builders. They could have been doing it, you know, in harmony with the local community, but instead they're not. They're sending, you know, people are ending up in hospital because of it. People can't sleep because of it. People are sitting there just hoping that it goes away, you know, and there is no timeline. So anyway, I've been talking about this for far too long now. All of my noise videos end up getting quite long because there's just so much to say about it. And also because you have to vent a little bit, because if you try and keep it all inside you and be polite about it, I'd be in the grave by now. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. So yeah, hopefully, thanks to these, you'll be seeing me a little bit more sparky in the next few videos. And like I said, I will tell you what these are in the very next video. I think it's too early to say, but hopefully they might be a little bit life-changing, and I might start to feel a little bit more like myself if I keep using them. And yeah, I hope wherever you are, you're getting a decent night's sleep.